In this video, I'm going to be going over 100 facts you probably didn't know about Ark Survival Evolved. Also made sure to not use any of the facts from my 100 facts in Ark Survival Ascended video. So if you've already seen that video, then none of them are the same in this one. Number 1 is you can tame Arenios that are above level 150 in Crystal Isles in the bog area. If you go there, you can find ones that are way over level 150 and it'll actually let you tame them, unlike in the caves where you normally find them, you can't tame them. You can tame them here, and they tame out at insanely high levels. As you can see, this one's level 382. Number 2 is the Raptor, Parasaur, and Carno are the 3 creatures that spawn on every single map, which is quite interesting that it's only these 3, and crazy even like iconic creatures like the Rex don't even spawn on all maps, like Aberration and stuff, but these ones spawn on every map. Number 3 is you can actually cryopod a tech ATV, and once you do, it basically shows up as if it were a raptor. This is what it shows up for, like when you put modded creatures in there and it doesn't know what it is. So it kind of does that, and it just has a white picture, and then you can throw it out just fine. Number 4 is there's actually 25 different variants of Wyverns. I feel like people know that there's a lot, but I don't think people realize how many there actually are. I have an entire video on this. It's pretty old, but I went over all 25 of the different variations, and it's just crazy how many there are. Number 5 is Fenrir actually works as a fridge. It has the same spoil timers as if you put it into a fridge. If you put it in Fenrir, it'll work just the same, except for in Fenrir, you can actually put things like nameless venom that you normally can't put in the like fridges and stuff, and it will make it last longer. After that one, in number 6 is you can actually charge a tech suit in the pink waters in Aberration. If you have, as you can see, I have no element here and install at 0%. But as soon as I go into the water and just sit inside of it, it'll actually charge up my tech suit. So you don't even need element for these things on Aberration if you don't feel like getting it. That is another way you can charge the tech suit and fly around. Number 7 is the Corrupted Deathworm. This was actually a creature that didn't end up getting added. I believe it was on Extinction for like the first day it came out, and then they removed it. But it's still in the game and you can spawn it in, but it's kind of interesting that they removed it. I don't understand why, because I think it made an interesting addition. Number 8 is the Morgan R Easter egg. It just says Morgan R was here on the island, and these are the coordinates if you want to go to it, but I think not very known Easter egg. Number 9 is there's 2 tech creatures that we didn't end up getting. Most of the creatures that have skins are tech skins and ended up getting tech variants, but the tech Giga was one of them. It does exist, but it's not tameable, and I don't think it spawns naturally. And then there was the tech Mosasaur. I kind of wish we got the tech Mosasaur and the tech Giga as well, because they're both really sick looking. And number 10 is the aberrant raptors will still pounce on you on Aberration, except for all the other raptors won't. For the longest time after the TLC, the raptors were able to pounce on you on all maps, and then they removed it one update, thank God, because it was absolutely horrible. But it still is on there like that on Aberration, which is kind of weird and kind of annoying. Number 11 is there's this Wilson Easter egg on Lost Island, and it's on this island just random secluded in the middle of nowhere, and these are the coordinates for it if you want to find it. Number 12 is another Lost Island one, is you can get the Artifact of the Clever on Lost Island, but it's completely useless. None of the bosses actually need it. So this is like the one map that has an artifact that is completely useless. You can go through the entire work of getting it, and it does nothing. Next is number 13, is you can actually re-roll your imprint with cryopods. If you basically, there's something that you don't like and you can't do it. For example, I don't have prime meat jerky here. I can just cryopod it and throw it out, and then it will change it. For this, it changed it to cuddle, which is way easier to do. Number 14 is in the deep ocean. There's actually the world snake. Now, I only know of this from like the God of War games, because that's pretty much where all my Norse mythology information comes from, is from those games. But this thing is definitely pretty cool, and here are the coordinates for it if you want to find it. Number 15 is if you're on the Andrew Sarkis in the saddle, if you go into first person, there's actually a few Easter eggs on the side. Like if you go to the right, there's like Mjolnir, the Ark logo, and the left, I would imagine, is the kill count with this thing. Kind of funny. Number 16 is the Furor actually increases the amount of torpor you deal. So as you can see, I did about 300 torpor to this level 100 Argentavis. Go on our Furor level 100 Argentavis and shoot it at the same exact spot with the same exact rifle. All the same stuff. It goes up to about 400 or actually almost 500 torpor, which is quite an increase. If you wanted to tame something easier, I guess you could try and Furor it. Number 17 is if your creature gets stuck in a bear trap, you can actually throw a plant species Z at it and it will instantly untrap it. As you can see, it doesn't look like it's untrapped, but if you get on it and just ride it, you'll just be able to walk out of it completely fine. And number 18 is you can actually tame trilobites. I see a lot of people saying that you can't tame these because for a while they weren't tameable, but you can actually tame them in Ark, and how you do it is with a fish basket. You basically just put the fish basket near it and then capture it, and then you can place it down, and you'll have your own trilobite, which is kind of weird and funny. Number 19 is the fish net will actually silence your footsteps. So this is what it sounds like normally and then after. Number 20 is alphas can't actually harvest corpses, so you can use this to your advantage to basically just have them try and harvest it, because they will still try, but they won't be able to, so you can just distract it by making it try and harvest a corpse, and then you can sit there and shoot it until it's dead. Number 21 is there's a Shrek Easter egg on Ragnarok. It's in the very deep swamps, and it's extremely dark, so you basically need a flashlight in order to see in here. But there's this little outhouse and his hut that you can find, and here's the coordinates for it if you want to go find it. Number 22 is, for some reason, Dinopithecus is seen as a Rex, which means that you can literally just bypass pretty much all dangerous creatures, at least things that wouldn't normally attack you that are on a Rex. Like things like Rexes will still attack you, but as you can see, these Arthros, the Mantis and stuff won't attack me. Number 23 is there's a different variant of the Direbear and Direwolf, and they're the Spirit Direbear and Direwolf. You find them in the Labyrinth Cave in Ragnarok at the very end. And this is one of the harder caves in the game, and a lot of people haven't gone through it, and which means you probably wouldn't have seen these. And these aren't the ghost variants either; they're completely different. Number 24 is all of the event items have been moved to the shop. I'm assuming they did this because Ark Ascended came out, and they're no longer doing events on Ark Survival Evolved, so you can actually buy all of the event items in the shop now, so which makes it, imagine, way easier to get. And number 25 is Findir was actually made by Garuk123, the same person who made the Ark Editions mod. When the Fjordur mod was still in development, it was basically he made Findir for it, and then of course Findir ended up getting added to the game, so he technically made it. And before they had decided to add all the Ark Editions to the base game, this is the first creature his that got added. And number 26, there's two dinosaurs that got cut, and they're the VR Daedon and Utyrannus. They were going to be in the Master Controller boss fight, but of course they got cut, which kind of makes sense because I don't think they would really fit in that boss fight. And this is what the VR creatures normally look like, and as you can see, they look a lot different, probably because the models weren't finished yet, but for some reason they're still implemented in the game and you can spawn them in. Number 27 is Santiago's sword. This is one of the characters in the story, and he ended up dying here with his mech if you read some of the Explore notes, and you can actually find it on the map. And it's a really cool little Easter egg, and these are the coordinates for it. Number 28 is you can actually spawn the Dodo Rex all year round. Normally you can only spawn it with the Fear of All event, but if you go on Genesis Part 2, all you have to do is go in the Survive the Ark event, and then type in this command to spawn it in, and then once you do, you just type in teleport to go back to the main world. And then from there you can go and like get to the wherever you want, and then, you know, cancel the mission. And another thing to do with the Dodo Rex, if you have the Dodo Rex and Dodo Wyvern helmets, you can actually put them on trophy bases, which is quite interesting. They do look a little bit weird because the Dodo Rex is a mask and then the Dodo Wyvern isn't the entire head, but it's still cool that you can put them on there. You can also put the Chieftain hat in the trophy hats, or the trophy bases as well. And number 30 is the Nerdy Glasses Easter egg. These were actually put in the game as an Easter egg to Jurassic Park from when the dentist dude gets killed by the Dillo and his glasses come off when he falls. That's why they're there, and that's why you get them from killing the Dillo in the first place. And number 31 is honey actually will calm down the lead sickness. If you throw it out and then it eats it, it should calm it down for a little bit so it doesn't destroy your raft. Number 32 is whips will actually force flyers to land. So if you're having trouble with your flyers landing, which happens a lot in this game, you can just whip them and it'll instantly make them land. Number 33 is there's actually some removed creatures from Crystal Isles called the liquefied creatures. These were in the modded version of the game because of course it wasn't modded first, and these were part of it. And it's kind of sad that they got removed because they were part of the Eldridge Isle area, and I feel like it made that area a lot more scary and kind of made the vibe there a lot cooler, but it kind of sucks that they're gone. And number 34 is you can actually have an infinite honey spoil timer. Normally they spoil in like 20 minutes, but if you put them on a fishing rod, they have no spoil timer at all, and you can keep them as long as you want, and as soon as you're ready, you can just take them off the fishing rod. Next at number 35 is most people know that there's 3 artifacts on Aberration and to summon the boss, but there's actually a 4th artifact that you can't get, which is called the Artifact of the Lost. I'm assuming they were going to have another cave or something, but they decided to not have it and then just removed it, but it's still in the game. And number 36, most people know about the hydrated buff the Spino gets, but there's actually 3 creatures with this buff. The other one being the Crystal Wyvern and the Shadow Mane. And basically, once you just go in water, you get the hydration buff. If you don't know, it increases their speed and all their stats and stuff. Number 37, there's actually an aberrant variant of the Nidaria, or the jellyfish. And I tried looking at it, and there's like no difference at all. There's the left one is the regular Nidaria, and the one on the right is the aberrant one. And I've been looking at it for a while, and I can't see any difference, which is why I would think most people don't even know that there is an aberrant one in the first place. So that's why I'm putting it on here, because I didn't even really realize until a while ago. Number 38 is the Andrew Sarkis saddle. It can actually protect you from being dismounted, as well as you can breathe underwater when you're in its saddle, which doesn't really make any sense because there's a giant hole in the front of it with the minigun, so you're definitely in water, but it doesn't have to make sense. It's pretty useful. Number 39 is there's this hidden location on Aberration. It's really sick. If you go in here, there's like a gigantic like Rex skeleton, except for obviously Rex isn't that big, so I don't really know what the skeleton would be. But of course, it's like glowing. It looks like it's backlit by something, but if you go up to it, it's actually coming from the inside, which is pretty cool. And this is the coordinates. It's in the rock drake den, and it's pretty like kind of off and hard to find, but once you get to it, it's pretty cool. Number 40 is the Lost Island. Is actually based off of the Elder Scrolls map. You can see it here, and they're very, very similar, of course, because the design of Lost Island was inspired by that map. And number 41 is on Ragnarok. There's an Easter egg where you have to go under the map, and you can find this little like building here. Basically what it was is it was going to be a new character screen. Ragnarok was going to have its own custom character creator screen, I believe, or spawn-in screen, one of the two, and this was it. And of course that didn't end up happening, but it's still there, but it's only there on PC. If you go there on console, it didn't work. I remember because for the longest time I was on console, and I went here seeing YouTube videos of it, and it wasn't there. I don't know why it's only on PC, but it is. And yeah, but it's pretty interesting to find there. Number 42 is the Dodorex was actually a fan-made creature, and this was the original concept art that someone made for it. And of course, the devs liked it so much, I guess, that they put it into the base game, which is kind of funny. And then at number 43 is the Lost Island and Scorched Earth are the only two maps in history of Ark to not be delayed. Every other map has been delayed before it comes out, which is kind of sad. Number 44 is the Phoenix is the only creature to be added after a DLC's launch. It is exclusive to Scorched Earth, but it wasn't on Scorched Earth when it came out. It was added about a year later with the full release of Ark Survival Evolved in 2017, and of course this came out around like September of 2016. And this is probably obvious to people who played during that time, including myself, but the people who didn't play, this one was actually added after, and they've never added a DLC creature after. But of course they started doing that in Ark Ascended, but that's not the same thing, and this is an Ark Survival Evolved video, so yeah. Number 45 is if you're on Genesis Part 2, you can actually equip the Exo tech suit to a regular tech suit, and it will basically just add all of the abilities that the Exo tech suit has to the regular one, which means that you won't have the visor like taking up your screen, and it doesn't take element if you do this. So you can have a regular tech suit with the full armor durability, and have all of the extra abilities that the Exo one has with the not taking element and all that stuff. Number 46 is you can actually find one of the developers' faces in a cave in Ragnarok, and these are the coordinates if you want to find it, but basically it's like covered in rocks and all of the like foliage and stuff, and you have to clear it all out. Once you do, it will show their face. Number 47 is you can actually increase Flyer's movement speed with a mate boosted Shadow Mane Roaring. This is what it looks like normally when you're flying around with a Pteranodon, and this is what it looks like when you have the increased movement speed. As you can see, it goes a lot faster, and this is an interesting way that you can actually get a way faster creature. It only lasts for like 30 seconds though. Number 48 is if you cryopod a buried Prolovia and then throw it out of a cryopod, it will not get cryo sickness. Even if you have cryo sickness, as you can see right here, you can just make it come out and it won't have cryo sickness, and you can do this infinitely. Number 49 is you can actually put mantas and anglers in fish baskets, which I feel like wouldn't normally fit in there, which doesn't really make much sense. I remember people used to use the fish basket to move anglers to the water in Aberration before they added cryopods. This was how you had to do it, which is quite interesting. Number 50 is you can actually like remove all of the fog and everything underwater with a gas mask. As you can see, it is way more visible if you put a gas mask, which doesn't really make much sense because it's way better than the scuba goggles, which you would think would actually make it more clear, but the gas mask is definitely way better. Number 51 is there's a bunker hidden in Lost Island. If you go to these coordinates right here, you can actually find a bunker in the middle of the jungle, which I find quite interesting. Number 52 is bosses used to not have boss arenas. Basically, it would just summon the boss, for example, the Broodmother, it would just spawn it right on the obelisk and you'd have to fight it there. And people would use this in PvE to basically just bring the Broodmother to people's bases and completely destroy it, which I find quite funny. Number 53 is there was a bunch of creatures that they were considering adding to the game and even had artwork for, and ended up not adding them. These were posted by the person who makes all of the art for Ark Survival Evolved. This is one of the creatures you're seeing on screen, this cool looking lava creature. I'm not really sure what it is, but it looks pretty dope. The other creature was a Gorgonops. I'm surprised they didn't add this one because it's been in like 50 different creature votes. I know a lot of people want this one really bad. This other one's like a big theropod, not really sure what it is, but it does look cool. And then after that we have like a Phiomia looking one. It's not the Phiomia though, because it doesn't have those horns on the front. It looks quite different. This one kind of looks like a Stygimoloch. Maybe it could have been before we got that skin, of course, from the archaeology event. And we know it's not Apache either. Next is this giant crab. Kind of reminds me of the Carcanos, but it's not the same because it looks a lot more like a crab. Then we have the Kulasuchus. This one would have been kind of a cool one and would have been similar to the Diplodocus, I imagine. Next, I'm not really sure what this one is, kind of just a small bird looking thing. And then we have the hive creature, which we actually do know a lot about. And it would spawn this creature called the Swarm, as you can see right here. And it would basically just keep spawning those and you have to fight it. They also had like a model of this one in game too, but they didn't end up adding it. This next creature is described as like the spiny lizard. It looks very similar to the thorny dragon. It could have even been the same one, but I believe he described it as being different. And then this one is also very similar to a creature we already have. It's the Nameless, and it's not the exact same. It's got a lot of differences, but it does look pretty similar. And this next one is pretty awesome, and I'm not sure what map this would have been on or what creature it would have been, but it looks like a giant flying manta. It could have been really dope. And then moving on, also sorry for the quality drop in these images. For some reason, even though all of these were the exact same image and file type, for some reason these certain ones weren't working. No matter what I did, they would just be super low quality, so yeah, it kind of sucks. But this one's kind of like a deer looking thing, kind of similar to the Megaloceros, except for its horns are a lot different, or the antlers I should say. And then the next thing kind of looks like an equus. I guess it would have been some sort of horse, maybe kind of similar to a zebra, something like that. Could have been pretty cool. And these next two are actually coming to Ark Survival Ascended. One of them's already in Ark Ascended. But this first one is the Acro. This one's going to be added from the Ark Editions mod to Ark Ascended. But of course this is Ark Survival Evolved. And this one was originally planned to be in Ark Survival Evolved, as you can see with this concept here. And then after that we have the Gigaraptor, which of course is already added to Ark Ascended. But kind of curious why they decided to scrap it a long time ago, but ended up adding it because of the creature vote later. Number 54 is there's a giant stick man hitting outside of Genesis Part 1 in the bog biome. Kind of just sitting there staring with a smile on his face, and here's the coordinates if you want to go look at it. It's outside the map though, so you can't get to it. Number 55 is the boss music in the Genesis Part 2 mini bosses. It's actually a remix of the original boss music called the Battle March. You can still hear it in the center, but I'll play both of them so you can hear the original and then the remixed version. And number 56 is this is the original concept for what the Wyverns were going to look like. And as you can see, it is a lot different from what we currently have. A lot longer neck is probably the first thing I noticed. And it kind of looks like more like a snake at the top. I don't know. I think I like the Wyverns we have now more, but this is quite an interesting one. I'd like to know what people think of this one. Number 57 is the Desert Titan can actually go underwater. It can fly underwater, just like how it flies above land, and it doesn't drain oxygen. Even though it does have an oxygen stat, it doesn't drain underwater for some reason. Number 58 is the Tropio. When it first came out on PC, it was only on Crystal Isles, but they didn't add Crystal Isles to console. They kind of delayed it, so they added the Tropio to the island. And I think it was on other few maps too, or it might have just been the island, but it would spawn on these maps on console, and you could find it there. And it's kind of weird. It's like the only time they did something like that, where they basically just added the creature on console to the island, and then it was on different maps for different consoles. Number 59 is a little detail. The giant city in Extinction is actually in the shape of an implant, which is quite interesting. Number 60 is there's a rock drake den on Crystal Isles, but there's no rock drakes in there. Literally nothing spawns in here, I don't think. I just come in here every time and it's completely empty. The original modded version of Crystal Isles actually had rock drakes in it right here, and I'm really sad that they actually removed them because it would have been really cool to have rock drakes on this map. After that, at number 61, as you might notice, is the Alpha Lead Sictus is always albino, and there's actually a reason for this that is explained in the Dossier Explorer notes.
The hunt for an extremely elusive breed of the fish the fabled great albino lead sickness, has been known to drive otherwise sensible men and women mad with obsession, as if all evil were visibly personified and made practically assailable in this one creature.
I think this is pretty cool, as it's like the only really creature you can find in the wild that actually has like some lore tied to it, which I think is quite interesting. I kind of wish there were more creatures like that, where they kind of like were talked about in the Explorer nets, and you can find them out in the wild and try and hunt them and stuff. It's kind of interesting. Number 62 is there's actually an artifact that was completely removed from the game, and I think it was going to be on Extinction, but it never ended up being on there. It's called the Artifact of the Flamekeeper. Number 63 is there's actually only 4 sauropods in the game. I really wish there were more, and of course there's more going to be added in Ark Survival Ascended, but this is an Ark Survival Evolved video. It's kind of surprising because this is a huge dinosaur game and there's only 4 sauropods, and the Brachiosaurus, being the most iconic, isn't even in the game. Number 64 is the Roll Rat saddle. Is the only saddle in the game to have a durability. It's kind of strange. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense because it actually has a use or some sort of unique function where it can roll. But it also makes it more annoying because it's really expensive to try and repair it, especially in the early game when you'd want to use this thing to get wood. Number 65 is you can actually tame these zombie wyverns that come in during the Fear Evolved event. Now, of course, we don't have any Fear Evolved events anymore because they don't update the Ark Survival Evolved anymore. But it is kind of cool. Basically, you can tame them. When you kill the Dodo Wyvern, you can claim them, and you can actually find them like above level like 300, I think. They're pretty high level. You just claim them when you kill the Dodo Wyvern. They're a bit smaller than a regular one, but you can actually keep them all year round. Number 66, if you've ever tried breeding magmasaurs, you probably know that you have to be in lava in order to breed them, but you can actually use fire from a fire wyvern instead, or just any type of fire to breed them. And you need, usually if you do want to do this, you have to have 2 of them because the fire wyvern will run out of stamina and it will stop, but as you can see, it does work if you want to try and use fire instead of lava. And number 67 is there was a removed item called the Mystery Cube. This was a long time ago, around when the game was first released. And you would get this out of supply drops, and it would have a 4-hour spoil timer. And once that timer ended, it would just give you a 50% off coupon to the game, so you could give it to your friend or something. Number 68 is there's a hidden location in the Forest Titan Cave called the Tomb of Ascension. This one's mentioned in the Explorer notes, and it's really cool in being part of the lore. Basically, like, you can actually find the things that are mentioned. I noticed this happens a lot with Extinction, which I think is pretty cool. And these are the coordinates if you want to come find it inside of the cave. And number 69 is there's a removed item called the Dune Buggy. You could only spawn this in, and it's very similar to the Tech ATV that's in the game, except for it wasn't Tech, it was just a regular Dune Buggy, and this was way before the Tech ATV was actually added, so this was added quite before then, but eventually ended up getting removed. Number 70 is the Tropionathus and the Terrajapa actually have the same model and animations, as well as the same sounds. I'll let those play out. Number 71 is you can actually find a statue with syntax written on it in Fjordur in one of these caves here. This cave also just has a bunch of Patreons that supported Nakatis in the making of this map, and these are the coordinates of it. Number 72 is the Deinonychus is the only creature in the game that can deal a bleed attack to bosses, making it one of the best boss fighting creatures in the entire game. And number 73 is the leeches will actually ignore the berry, which is great because these things are absolutely disgusting. And then number 74 is corrupted gigas actually don't have a bleed effect, which is super nice because they'd probably be extremely overpowered if they did have a bleed effect, considering there's tons of them in the corrupted zone, and you'd probably just get killed instantly. Number 75, there's actually a hidden version of the Dire Bear. The R Dire Bear doesn't spawn naturally, but it's just a Genesis Part 2 variant that for some reason they decided not to add. I don't know why, because it's pretty cool. I don't understand why they'd made it and then just decided not to have it, but it's in the game still. Number 76 is the Astrodelphus and Astrocetus are the only 2 creatures in the game to only have a tech saddle and not have a regular saddle variant. For some reason you can't get a regular saddle of these, obviously because the saddles seem to have some pretty like unique mechanics. I guess is why they didn't want to have them on the regular one, because then these things would be kind of useless. I mean, I still think they would have some uses with a regular saddle, but I don't know. And number 77 is you used to be able to bulla the Baryonyx, but you can no longer do it anymore. Which I imagine they did it because that made it way too easy to tame these things for how good they are. And number 78 is you can actually Fear Roar a Reaper Queen, which is probably like the biggest creature you can Fear Roar. It works on pretty much all Aberration creatures, Rock Drakes, and Basilisk, and this is probably because the Tyrannus doesn't spawn on Aberration, so they just didn't, I guess, take the time to make those things and not have a Fear Roar against it. And number 79 is there's another corrupted creature you might not know about called the Corrupted Dimorphodon. This one, I've heard, according to the wiki, only spawns during orbital supply drops, and you can't find it in the wild in Extinction. And I tried doing some searches on like YouTube and Google, and I couldn't find anything about this. Like, there was no information about it other than what was mentioned on the wiki. And I'll have the spawn command on the screen if you do want to spawn it, because it is in game. You just apparently you can only find it during orbital supply drops. Number 80, there's been 14 creatures with a TLC update. First the Saber, which is a visual one, and then the rest of them were for TLC passes like the Direwolf, Raptor, Gigantopithecus, Direbear, Procoptodon, Sarco, the RG, and then there's the Trike and the Stego, and another one that was just a visual one was the Ice Wyvern, that before just looked like a reskinned Lightning Wyvern. And then there's the Mammoth, which is more recent, and the Rex and the Spino. All of these have gotten TLC updates, and hopefully we can get some more for like the Megalodon, Quetzal, and all those other creatures as well, maybe in the future with Arc Ascended. Number 81 is you can harvest the Golem with Dodex and Ankies, and you can actually get quite a bit of materials with it, so it is a good way of farming some materials quickly if you do have a Golem you need to kill. And number 82 is there's actually two different variants of the Polar Bear. Most people know about the Polar Bear, but there's actually two different versions. There's just the Polar Bear, which is a bigger version of the Dire Bear that's white, and then there's the Dire Polar Bear, which is only on Ragnarok, I think, and is just the same size as a regular Dire Bear. And number 83 is the Strider was originally going to be on Extinction, even though this is a Genesis Part 2 creature, and we first heard about it with Genesis Part 2. Here's the concept art of what it was going to look like on Extinction, and as you can see, it wasn't a tech creature. It was actually has like flesh and stuff, and I think this one looks really cool, and I think I might have ended up liking this one better. Now, I could just be saying that because it's something we didn't get or something, but at the same time, this thing looks like super alien, and it's super cool looking. And number 84 is you can actually put the canoe in lava. Now, I did mention in my Arc Ascended 100 facts that you could put rafts in lava, which could be considered pretty much the same thing, but I've never really seen anyone putting canoes in lava, so I thought I'd mention it in here. Number 85 is if you cryo an Ovis that has a full set of pelt or wool or whatever, it'll actually all disappear when you throw it out of the cryopod. And number 86 is the Dodic actually has a hidden bite attack if you go underwater. It only works underwater because normally if you press that same button, it would do the roll on land, but when you're in water, it does a bite, which is quite interesting. And number 87 is when cryopods first came out, they were originally exclusive to Extinction, and they were a DLC item. But of course, they ended up making these available on all maps, which I think was a great change for obvious reasons. But I do remember when these were only on Extinction for quite a while. And number 88 is the Enforcer actually doesn't swim, and if you go underwater, it just acts like a golem or something like that, where it just walks around as if there's no water at all. Number 89 is there was a removed item called the Net Gun. This was in Genesis Part 2, and you could get it from the loot crates, and this thing was insanely overpowered. And the only way I got footage of this thing was actually through a mod, but the mod doesn't really work. If you want more details on this, there's a video that Ras Clark did when it first came out showing it off. You could basically like net gun up to the size of a Giga. You could literally net Gigas and Brontos. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was extremely overpowered, and I understand why it was removed. I've seen some people in the comments saying that it's still in there, but it's definitely removed. You can't spawn it. Like, it's not even in the code or anything. You can't spawn it or anything, so it's definitely not in the game anymore. But for a while, or for a little bit, it was in the game, and it was broken. Number 90 is if you're in an exomech, the corrupted creatures will completely ignore you, which seems a little bit overpowered. But yeah, you can go into this extremely hostile zone. Even the Gigas, Wyverns, and Rexes, they'll all just completely ignore you and won't attack you. And number 91 is if you have a map and you increase your FOV, you can actually see yourself holding a GPS at the bottom right, despite not having one. Right there, I didn't have a GPS on me or in my inventory, and yet for some reason it shows as I have a GPS there. Now you have to increase your FOV with commands doing this, like way over what you could normally go to, but it's kind of funny that it's there. Number 92 is the Archaeopteryx on Genesis Part 1 will not like flee from you if you get close to it. On all the other maps, if you get anywhere close to it, it'll immediately just start running away from you. But on Genesis 1, for some reason, it completely ignores you, and if you can get right up to it, and it won't do anything. Number 93 is another item that was in Genesis loot crates, and this one was the electronic binoculars. This one you could basically just get it from the loot crates, and I believe it's still in the game, but it's only on PC. I could not get it to spawn in or get it from loot crates on console on my PlayStation, so I had to do it on PC for this video. And yeah, you can still get it on there, and they added it in Arc Ascended, and it's way better in there, but you can't actually get it in Arc Survival Evolved. Number 94 is the Bloodstalker can actually do emotes while you're riding it. It actually has like a few custom emotes. It doesn't do every single emote, it only does a few of them, but it is still a nice little detail and kind of funny. And number 95 is you can actually make the mech move with a whip, which is kind of funny to watch because it doesn't really make much sense because I imagine it wouldn't be feeling anything. But you can also do this when it's out of fuel as well, so you can get it to move out of the way. Number 96 is the Enforcer. It does 4 times damage to corrupted creatures, which makes it pretty good if you can manage to get it early game because you can kill some of those smaller corrupted creatures. Number 97 is the Trank Darts on the rifle, and the Fabricated Sniper with a silencer have the exact same sounds. Number 98 is the Ferox actually gives insulation. As you can see, I had hypothermia, but when I got on the Ferox, even without armor, I am no longer not even cold anymore. Number 99 is the Basilisk takes radiation damage, which doesn't make any sense because you can find them in the radiation zone, and they have like the aberrant stripes on them and stuff, but for some reason when they're tamed, they still take radiation damage. Number 100 is if you drink beer, it changes all of the names of the Bloodstalkers to really weird and kind of funny names. There's a bunch of them as you could see on screen right here, like Creepy Pasta is one of them. It's kind of hard to read them from where I am. You got Man Spider. I believe one of them said like free hugs, which is kind of funny, spelled with a Z as well. Also, for some reason, this also didn't work for me on console. I tried it multiple times on my PlayStation and it wasn't working, and I had to go to my PC and it worked on there. I don't know why that's like a PC exclusive only thing. Maybe you could try to get it to work on console, but I tried it for a long time and it wasn't working. But that is 100 facts for Ark Survival Evolved. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe. Also make sure to check out the Ark Ascended 100 facts if you did enjoy this video and haven't seen that one. I'll have it linked in the description. But that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, and bye.